In the heart of the jungle, where the trees towered above like ancient guardians and the air hummed with the sounds of life, lived a young howler monkey named Tala. Her fur was a deep brown, blending into the shadows of the towering trees, but it was her eyes that stood out, large and full of curiosity, as though they carried the wisdom of the forest itself. Tala was not like the other monkeys of her troop, who were content to swing from tree to tree, eating fruits and playing in the canopy. Tala was different. She was bold, adventurous, and constantly searching for something beyond the borders of the jungle she called home. The elders in her troop often spoke of the river that ran through the jungle, a dark and mysterious waterway that no one dared to approach. It was said to be cursed, and many animals believed it to be a place of death. The river's waters, they claimed, carried with them a strange and powerful magic, one that could either heal or destroy. Tala, however, was fascinated by these tales, and as the days went on, she found herself yearning to uncover the truth behind the river's curse. One day, as the sun began to dip below the horizon, painting the sky in hues of orange and pink, Tala decided she would finally venture to the river. She had heard stories of the great spirits that lived within its depths, spirits that could grant wishes or bring terrible misfortune. Some said the river was haunted by a spirit of a long-lost creature, its soul forever trapped in the water's flow. Tala had always been skeptical of such stories, but the idea of the unknown tugged at her heart. She crept away from her troop, her heart racing with excitement and fear. The path to the river was treacherous, winding through dense underbrush and thick vines, but Tala was agile and determined. Her sharp claws dug into the bark of trees as she made her way through the jungle, her senses alive with the sounds of the nocturnal creatures that stirred in the twilight. As she neared the river, a strange stillness fell over the jungle. The usual sounds of chirping insects and rustling leaves were absent. It was as if the jungle itself held its breath, waiting for something. Tala could feel the tension in the air, a sense that something ancient and powerful was close. The river appeared before her like a dark ribbon, its waters flowing silently through the jungle. The trees along its banks were twisted and gnarled, their roots reaching deep into the earth as if trying to anchor themselves to something beyond the physical world. The air smelled faintly of damp earth and something sweet, like rotting fruit, yet there was an undeniable beauty in the scene before her. The water shimmered under the pale light of the moon, its surface smooth and calm, reflecting the stars above. Tala stood at the edge of the river, her heart pounding in her chest. She had heard the stories, but seeing the river in person was something entirely different. The air felt thick with magic, as though the very ground beneath her feet was alive. She took a deep breath and stepped closer to the water, her feet sinking into the soft mud. It was then that she heard it, the faintest whisper, carried by the wind. It was a voice, soft and ethereal, like a murmur from the depths of the river. Tala froze, her fur standing on end. The voice called to her, though she couldn't understand the words. It was a call, a beckoning from something far beyond her comprehension. Driven by a mix of fear and curiosity, Tala knelt at the edge of the water. Her reflection shimmered in the river, but something else also appeared, an image of a creature, its eyes glowing with an otherworldly light. It was a jaguar, but not like any jaguar Tala had ever seen. Its fur was silver, almost translucent, and its eyes seemed to pierce through her very soul. Tala gasped, stepping back in surprise. The jaguar's gaze never left hers, and for a moment, she felt as though the river itself was alive, watching her, waiting for her to make her move. The voice came again, clearer this time. "You have come to seek the truth," it whispered. "But be warned, young Howler, the river is not what it seems. It is both a gift and a curse, a power that can shape the fate of all who touch its waters." Tala swallowed hard, her mind racing. She wanted to turn back, to run to the safety of her troop, but something held her in place. The jaguar's eyes seemed to be calling her, urging her forward. She didn't know why, but She felt as though her destiny was tied to the river, that the answers she sought were just beyond its dark surface. With trembling hands, Tala dipped her fingers into the water, and the moment her skin made contact with the river, she felt it, a surge of energy, a pulse that seemed to flow through her entire being. It was as though the river had awoken, its power flooding her senses. The water was cold, yet the touch sent a fire racing through her veins. She recoiled, but the river seemed to pull her in, drawing her deeper. The voice spoke again, louder now, filled with urgency. The curse is not of the river alone, young one. The curse is within you. The river can either cleanse you or consume you. Only the bravest of hearts can survive what lies ahead. Before Tala could respond, the water around her began to swirl. The jaguar's image faded, replaced by a surge of dark shadows that rose from the depths of the river. The jungle trembled, and the earth beneath her feet seemed to crack as a powerful force rose from the river, surrounding her in a whirlwind of energy. Tala struggled to stay grounded, but the force of the river was too strong. She was lifted off the ground, spinning in the air as though she were caught in the very heart of a storm. Her senses spun wildly, and for a moment, she wondered if she was losing herself. And then, just as suddenly as it had begun, the storm stopped. Tala found herself back on the riverbank, gasping for breath. The air was still once more, and the jungle had fallen silent again. But something had changed. She could feel it in her bones. The river had shown her a glimpse of its true power, and now, she was bound to it, whether she liked it or not. The voice spoke one final time, its tone both sad and knowing. You are no longer the same, Tala. The river has marked you, and with it, your fate is intertwined. The curse you seek to lift is the one that lies within your heart.